the mega prison of El Salvador. Inside the facility with 40,000 gang members. 40,000 men. One cage. The cameras shake as a line of prisoners, barefoot, tattooed, heads shaved, are marched into a massive concrete hall. Their hands are locked behind their backs. Their eyes are forced to the floor. The guards shout orders that echo off the steel walls. This is CECOT, El Salvador's mega prison. Inside these walls, the world's most feared gang members, MS-13 and Barrio 18, are crammed together under rules so strict, even talking without permission can get you punished. These men once controlled entire neighborhoods, ran extortion rings, and held cities hostage. Now they eat, sleep, and survive in a prison system built to break them completely. And on one hot morning, something happens that shocks even hardened guards. A guard walking past cell block 7 hears a sound, deep breathing, hundreds of inmates whispering in the dark. He steps closer. Suddenly, the noise stops. Total silence. 40,000 gang members, all quiet at the same time. The guard freezes. Why did they all stop? Is something about to go down inside the mega prison? That's where our story begins. The prison built like a military base. CECOT wasn't built like a normal prison. It was built like a fortress, a place with one purpose: to control the most dangerous gangs in the world. When you enter the outer gate, the first thing you notice is the size. This place is enormous. Imagine 23 football fields placed side by side, wrapped in concrete walls and razor wire taller than a 2-story house. Military watchtowers sit in every corner, each one manned with soldiers holding rifles pointed down into the yard. Most prisons keep guards behind barriers. Not here. Here, guards walk the corridors like soldiers on patrol. Inside, the rules are simple. No sunlight for most of the day. No freedom. No visitors. No private space. Inmates sleep on metal slabs. They use their shirts as pillows. They don't even have personal belongings. Every movement is monitored. Every meal is the same. Every action is controlled. When a prisoner misbehaves, the punishment is extreme: hours kneeling on concrete, hands locked behind the head. Sometimes days without stepping into the yard. But here's what outsiders don't understand. Before CECOT existed, gang members basically ran the streets. Some carried out extortion that crippled families. Some demanded protection payments from bus drivers, shop owners, and even schools. So when El Salvador's president announced the creation of a mega-prison designed to remove gangs from the streets, the world watched closely. And when the doors of CECOT opened, buses loaded with hundreds of inmates arrived every week. Inside the cell blocks, conditions were shocking. No mattresses. Almost no open space. Inmates packed shoulder to shoulder. And yet, something strange began happening. Instead of constant riots and fights, there was fear. Deep fear. Because prisoners quickly realized something. CECOT was a place where the gangs held no power. The guards did. But that peace didn't last. Something was building inside the walls. A tension. A silence deeper than normal. And it all began inside cell block 7, the block where the guard heard thousands whispering in the dark. What were they planning? Was a coordinated attack forming? Or was something else happening, something even more unsettling? Cell block 7, the whisper in the dark. After the guard hears the sudden silence in cell block 7, he signals 2 other officers. They move together, flashlights on, boots echoing through the hall. Cell block 7 houses some of the most feared men in El Salvador, high-ranking gang members, shot callers, and men who once commanded armies on the streets. The guards know one thing. If something goes wrong here, it can spread across the whole prison. As they approach the cell, the smell of sweat and concrete mixes in the air. The lights above flicker. Inside the cell, over 100 inmates sit shoulder to shoulder on the floor. Their tattoos tell you everything. 13 spiderwebs, the number 18 inked across entire backs, skulls, letters, symbols of power. But right now, they're not shouting. They're not standing. They're not fighting. They're sitting in total stillness. One inmate, tall, thin, covered in blue MS-13 tattoos, lifts his eyes for a second. The guard's flashlight hits his face. But he doesn't speak. He doesn't blink. He lowers his head again. The guards feel something is off. This isn't normal behavior. Not here. Stand up, one guard commands. Nobody moves. He shouts again. Still nothing. The only sound in the room is slow breathing, hundreds of men inhaling and exhaling at the same rhythm. For a moment, the guards consider calling backup. But then the commander arrives. A veteran officer. 20 years dealing with gang members. Hard eyes. No fear. He steps inside the cell and points to a group of inmates sitting near the wall. You, he says. Get up. One of them rises slowly. He's older, maybe mid-40s, tattoos faded from age, but his presence is strong. The others call him El Viejo. On the street, he was known as a strategist, someone who never acted without a plan. The room stays silent as he stands. The commander stares at him. What's happening here? El Viejo doesn't answer. Instead, he looks around the room, then down at the floor, and says quietly, "It's coming." The commander frowns. What's coming? El Viejo doesn't respond. He just sits back down, slowly with the rest of them. The guards look at each other, confused, unsettled. For the first time in weeks, fear appears on the guards' faces. When the officers step out and lock the gate, one guard whispers, "They're preparing for something. I can feel it." But the truth is far more complicated. Because what the inmates were whispering about wasn't a riot. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't even a plan to escape. It was something none of them expected. Something that would shake the entire megaprison from one block to another. And it starts with a discovery that happens just a few hours later. The discovery. A few hours after the incident in cell block 7, the prison moves into its nighttime routine. Guards switch shifts. Lights dim. Inmates settle into their cramped spaces, knees touching, backs against the cold walls. Silence takes over the halls, heavy, uncomfortable silence. Two guards, Ramirez and Torres, start their patrol on the lower corridors. They're both experienced. They've seen stabbings, fights, and riots in other prisons. But CECOT is different. Here, danger doesn't come loud. It comes quiet. As they walk, Torres shines his flashlight through each cell window. Everything seems normal. Men sleeping. Men staring at the floor. Men whispering prayers. But when they reach cell 41, Torres stops. Ramirez, look. Inside the cell, one inmate is lying flat on the ground, not moving. His skin is pale. His breathing is shallow. Two other inmates sit beside him with blank expressions. They don't call for help. They don't speak. They just stare at the wall. Torres opens the viewing panel. Hey, get him up. What happened? No one answers. Ramirez unlocks the door. The inmates slide back silently, making space, not out of fear, but out of something else, something colder. Torres kneels and checks the man's pulse. Low. Very low. He needs medical. The inmate's eyes half open. His lips barely move. Agua. Water. Ramirez looks around. Why didn't you tell us he was sick? One of the inmates finally speaks, voice empty. He wasn't like this an hour ago. The guards exchange worried looks as they lift the man. He's burning with fever. His skin is trembling. Something is wrong, very wrong. They radio for medical. When the infirmary team arrives, the nurse checks him and steps back fast. This is not dehydration, she whispers. This is something else. Before the guards can ask, another alarm sounds, this time from cell 22, across the block. Another inmate collapsed. Same symptoms. Same pale skin. Same shaking. The guards rush there. They find the man lying in his cell, struggling to breathe, surrounded by inmates who look terrified but silent, too silent. Torres's voice cracks. What's happening? This isn't normal. The medical team moves the second man out. Then a third alarm sounds. Then a fourth. By midnight, 7 inmates across different cells show the same symptoms. No fights. No drugs. No poisoning signs. No injuries. Just sudden collapse. The commander is called back to the prison. As he walks through the infirmary, he sees bodies shaking, inmates sweating and gasping, nurses scrambling to stabilize them. Then he hears something that freezes his blood. One of the sick inmates mumbles the same words El Viejo said earlier. "It's coming." The commander turns to the nurse. "What does that mean? What's coming?" But before she can answer, the power flickers. Lights dim. Screens go dark. The entire cell block falls into darkness. And all 40,000 inmates lift their heads at the same time. Not one speaks. Not one moves. They just stare into the dark like they were waiting for it. The guards instinctively grab their radios, but the signal crackles. Something is happening inside the mega prison. Something big. Something silent. And it's only beginning. Darkness in the mega prison. The lights inside CECOT rarely go out. The prison was designed so guards could see every corner, every shadow, every inmate. Total darkness was never supposed to happen here. But now, the entire block is swallowed in it. The emergency lights fail to activate. The backup generators don't switch on. Only the distant rumble of footsteps fills the air. The guards freeze, listening. "Stay calm," Commander Ruiz orders, though his voice shakes. "Get flashlights. Secure positions." Torres clicks his flashlight. Nothing. Ramirez tries his, dead. Every guard tries theirs. Almost all fail. It's like the entire electrical system inside the block shut down at the exact same moment, including every handheld device. The only light left is a thin blue glow leaking in from a hallway far away. "That's impossible," Torres whispers. "They're not all supposed to die at once." The commander narrows his eyes. "We need to get to the control room. Now." But moving through a pitch-black block holding thousands of gang members is dangerous. Even silence becomes a weapon. As they step carefully forward, something catches Ramirez's attention. A sound. Not shouting. Not talking. Not fighting. It's breathing. Thousands of inmates breathing together, the same slow rhythm, as if the entire prison is inhaling and exhaling like a giant lung. The sound travels through the steel halls, creating a low, unsettling hum. For the first time since the mega prison opened, the guards feel outnumbered in a way that words cannot explain. When they reach the main corridor, Torres shines his phone screen just enough to see shapes in the dark. Dozens of inmates are standing at their cell doors, staring out. Their faces are barely visible. Tattooed arms press against bars. Their heads tilt slightly, following the guard's movement. No one speaks. No one blinks. Just quiet, controlled lunch. Ramirez whispers. "They're waiting for the lights to come back." But the commander shakes his head. "No. They're waiting for something else." The guards move past each cell carefully. Some inmates watch with blank expressions. Others sit with their heads bowed. But none of them show aggression. The silence is worse than violence. When they reach the end of the corridor, they hear shouting coming from the direction of the infirmary. The guards rush toward the noise. Inside the medical room, chaos has erupted. Nurses scramble to restart machines. The sick inmates lie on beds, gasping, muscles tense. The heartbeat monitors are dark. But one of the prisoners sits up suddenly, eyes wide, breathing heavy. He tries to speak, but his voice cracks. The nurse leans closer. "Tell me what happened." The inmate raises a shaking finger and points toward the ceiling. "Arriba." Above. The guards look up. Nothing but darkness. The commander steps forward. "What's above?" "Explain." The inmate swallows hard and whispers. "It started there, in the upper block. They knew before we did." "Who?" the commander asks. The inmate's eyes fill with fear. "El Viejo," he says. "And the others like him." The room goes silent. The commander and the guards exchange tense looks. If the older gang leaders knew something was coming before the sickness started, then the whispers earlier weren't random. They were warnings. The guard radios crackle again. Static. Broken voices. Then one clear message. "Commander, you need to get to the upper block. Now." Torres looks uneasy. That's where the high-ranking members are housed. The commander takes a deep breath. "Exactly. And if something started there, we need to find out what." They turn toward the stairs leading upward, toward the darkest, most dangerous part of the prison. But as they take their first step, a loud metal bang echoes through the entire complex. Then another. Then another. The inmates in the hall lift their heads. Something is happening above them. Something that will change everything inside CECOT. The upper block. The metal bangs echo again, deep, heavy, like something large slamming against steel walls. The sound travels down the stairwell and spreads through the entire megaprison. Every inmate hears it. Every guard feels it. Commander Ruiz leads Torres and Ramirez up the stairs. Their footsteps echo sharply, the air growing colder as they climb. The upper block holds the most influential gang leaders, men who once ordered assassinations and extortion with a simple nod. But tonight, the block feels different. Empty. Still. Too quiet. They reach the top floor and notice something immediately. The smell. A heavy, sour odor, like sweat mixed with metal and something else. Something sick. The emergency lights in the upper hall flicker weakly, casting long shadows across the walls. At the far end, a door hangs slightly open. That door is never open. It leads to Isolation Wing A, where the most dangerous inmates are kept alone in soundproof cells. Torres's voice is barely a whisper. Why is that door open? The commander doesn't answer. He steps forward slowly, gun drawn, eyes locked on the open door. Ramirez covers the rear, flashlight barely bright enough to guide them. As they move deeper into the corridor, they pass cells filled with silent inmates sitting cross-legged on the floor, heads bowed just like the others. But these men are different. Higher rank. More power. More fear. At cell 11, the guards stop. Inside sits El Viejo, the older gang leader who whispered, "It's coming," earlier. But now, he looks worse. His skin is pale. Sweat drips down his face. His lips tremble as he breathes slowly, painfully. The commander steps closer. "El Viejo, talk to me. What's happening?" The old man raises his head. His eyes look dark and sunken. "It's here," he mutters. Then he lifts his hand and points toward the open isolation door. The commander's heartbeat quickens. "What's in there?" El Viejo shakes his head. "They tried to hide it. But they didn't tell you. They didn't tell any of you." The guards exchange confused looks. "Who didn't tell us?" Torres asks. But El Viejo's eyes close again. He collapses sideways, barely conscious. The commander pushes forward. They reach the open door. A small sign above it reads, "Isolation, do not enter without authorization." The room inside is dark. Not dim. Not low-lit. Pitch black. As they step inside, Ramirez raises his dim phone light, and a shape appears. A bed. A metal chair. Handcuffs bolted to the floor. And a faint trail of dark stains on the ground leading toward the corner. Torres's voice breaks. "Commander, I think someone was here." The commander kneels and touches the stains. They're dry but recent. Then they hear it. A slow scraping sound. Coming from the far corner of the isolation cell. A place Ramirez's phone light can't reach. CECOT. CECOT. Like someone dragging something heavy against the wall. The guards freeze. "Show yourself," the commander shouts. The scraping stops. Silence fills the room. Then, from the darkness, a voice, weak but clear, echoes back. "They said we would be safe in here, but they lied." Ramirez steps closer, shining the faint light. The beam finally reaches the corner. And what they see makes him gasp. An inmate sits curled against the wall, shaking violently. His skin is covered in sweat. His breathing is rapid. His eyes are wide with panic. This man is not supposed to be here alone. Someone placed him here earlier, without any official record. He lifts his head and whispers, "It started with me." The commander steps closer. "What started with you?" The inmate tries to speak, but suddenly his body jerks. He grabs his chest and falls forward, gasping. Torres grabs the radio. "We need medical to isolation now." But the radio bursts with static again. No connection. The inmate reaches out with a trembling hand, pointing toward the hallway outside. More coming," he wheezes. Commander Ruiz's eyes widen. "What do you mean more?" The inmate coughs hard. His voice breaks into a whisper. They're collapsing one by one. The commander stands up fast. Ramirez, Torres, we need to check the other isolation cells. They run out of the room. But when they reach the hallway, they stop dead in their tracks. Because several other cell doors that should always be locked, are hanging open. And inside each cell lies another inmate collapsed on the floor. The sickness isn't just spreading. It started right here, at the top, with the highest-ranked prisoners. The commander turns to Torres, voice tense. This isn't random. Someone knew this was coming. Torres swallows hard. But who? Before anyone can answer, a loud alarm suddenly blares through the prison. Not the usual siren. A different one. A full facility emergency alert. The entire megaprison goes into lockdown mode. And a message flashes across the hallway monitors in red text. The security alert, level 4. Ramirez whispers. What does that even mean? The lights flicker again, this time brighter, revealing something that makes all 3 guards step back. At the far end of the corridor, 2 more inmates collapse at the same time. Their bodies hit the floor with a heavy thud. And then a third. Then a fourth. The commander's voice cracks. Everyone mask up. Now. But it's too late. Because something has already entered the air. Something they cannot see. Something none of them were prepared for. The invisible threat. Sirens scream through CECOT as the red lights flash along the ceiling. Lockdown doors slam shut one by one, the metallic echoes shaking the entire megaprison. Torres covers his mouth with part of his uniform. Ramirez does the same. The commander tries to stay calm, but even he feels fear rising in his chest. Biosecurity alert, level 4. It's the highest alert in the system. The kind that means something dangerous is spreading. Something they can't see. The guards step back as more men collapse inside the open isolation cells. Some cough violently. Some shake uncontrollably. Others lie still like they don't even feel the alarms anymore. Ramirez whispers, Commander, this isn't normal sickness. It hit too fast. The commander nods. I know. We're dealing with something serious. The guards look down the hallway where 5 more inmates lie motionless. For a moment, the only sound is the echo of the alarm and the heavy breathing of the guards. A loud crash. Something metal falling hard against the floor in the cell block below. Torres flinches. What was that? The commander motions for silence. They listen. Voices. Shouting. Guards calling for backup. And underneath all of that, coughing. So much coughing. It spreads like a wave rolling through the building. The commander turns to the stairs. Move. We're checking the lower floors now. As they begin to descend, Torres suddenly stops mid-step. Commander! Wait. Ramirez freezes beside him. Below them, the long corridor of the second level is filled with inmates pressed against their cell doors. Their tattooed arms stretch out. Their faces are pale. Some hold onto the bars with shaking hands. Others cough hard, bending over in pain. And then something terrifying happens. At least 50 prisoners collapse at the same time, bodies falling like dominoes, hitting the ground with dull thuds. Torres stumbles back. Dear God. The commander tries his radio again. Control room, respond. We need immediate medical. This is a mass emergency. Static. Only static. The radio system is failing. Commander, Ramirez says quietly. What if this isn't something we can contain? The commander tightens his jaw. We don't have a choice. We have to move. They step into the second level. The smell hits hard now, sweat, metal, sickness. It fills their lungs. Torres coughs once and quickly covers his mouth again. As they walk, inmates reach through the bars toward them, desperate. Help us. My chest burns. I can't breathe. Please. But the guards can't open anything. In lockdown mode, every door is sealed automatically until the alert level changes. When they reach the center of the block, the commander stops. Because lying on the floor is someone unexpected. A guard. Face down. Motionless. Uniform soaked with sweat. Get him, the commander shouts. Torres and Ramirez lift him. He's burning with fever. His breathing is shallow. His lips tremble as he struggles to whisper. The commander shakes him gently. What happened? What did you see? The guard tries to speak. It's in the air. The commander leans closer. What's in the air? The guard's eyes roll back for a moment before he forces out a broken whisper. It started upstairs. Someone smuggled something in, something that spreads. Before he can finish, his body goes limp. The guards gently lower him to the floor. Ramirez's voice cracks. Commander, now the guards are collapsing too? Torres shakes his head, panic rising in his eyes. If this spreads any faster, we might all. Don't say it, the commander snaps. But deep down he knows Torres is right. Whatever started in the isolation block, whatever El Viejo tried to warn them about, whatever the inmate in the corner whispered, it's now moving through the entire prison, cell by cell, floor by floor. And then, a new alarm goes off. This one even louder, sharper. The monitors on the walls flash again. Containment failure, Sector 3. Torres grabs the commander's arm. Commander, that's the sector with over 12,000 inmates. Before the commander can respond, a massive steel gate ahead of them begins to lower automatically. If they don't move, they'll be locked inside the infected block. Run, the commander shouts. The guards sprint down the corridor, dodging collapsed inmates, pushing through the thick air. The gate lowers faster. Sparks fly as the mechanism screeches. Torres dives first, rolls under the gate. Ramirez slides on his stomach just as the gate drops to knee height. The commander jumps. The gate slams shut behind him with a thunderous bang. They made it out. But as the commander gets up, catching his breath, something chills him to the bone. On the other side of the gate, hundreds of inmates are now lying completely still. No movement, no sound, just rows and rows of bodies across the floor. Torres whispers, Commander, we're losing the block. But the commander doesn't respond. Because at that moment, something else happens. Something worse. The lights behind the sealed gate turn from red to white. A new message flashes on the screen above the door. Sector quarantined, no entry. Then another line appears. A line that even the commander has never seen in his entire career. Potential outbreak detected, source unknown. Ramirez steps back. Source unknown? That means even they don't know what's causing it. The commander stares through the glass window at the silent block. Then he says the words no guard ever wants to say inside a prison. We're not dealing with a riot. We're not dealing with a gang attack. We're dealing with something we've never seen before. He looks downward at the dark hallway that leads to the main control center. Whatever is happening, the truth is down there. Torres nods nervously. Then let's go. They grip their flashlights, tighten their masks, and begin moving deeper into the mega prison. But as they take their first steps, a faint sound echoes through the dark corridor. Not coughing, not shouting. A voice. Slow, almost whispering, coming from the shadows ahead. Commander! They freeze. Because the voice belongs to someone who shouldn't be standing there. Someone who collapsed minutes earlier. Someone who shouldn't be able to speak. Someone who should be unconscious. They shine their lights forward and see him, standing, shaking, alive. The inmate from the isolation cell. The one who said, "It started with me." His eyes look different now. And he whispers one final sentence before collapsing again. They're coming. The control center. The inmate collapses again, his body hitting the concrete with a heavy thud. The guards stand frozen, the echo of his last words hanging in the air. They're coming. Torres steps back, fear tightening his throat. Commander, who's coming? The commander doesn't answer. He kneels beside the inmate and checks his pulse, weak but still there. Whatever hit him isn't killing instantly, but it's strong enough to break the toughest men in the prison. They must move. Grab him, the commander orders. Ramirez shakes his head. Sir, if he's the source. We're not leaving him here, the commander snaps. He may know more than anyone. They lift the inmate carefully. His skin is cold. His breath is shallow. His eyes twitch like he's slipping in and out of consciousness. The alarms continue blaring. Lockdown lights flash across the walls. The corridor toward the control center feels endless, dark, echoing, filled with distant coughing and heavy footsteps from unseen parts of the facility. As they move deeper, they pass more collapsed inmates behind sealed gates. More guards weakened on the ground. More evidence that whatever is spreading isn't slowing down. Torres breaks the silence. How did this even start? We screen everything. We check every visitor. No one gets into the isolation wing without clearance. Ramirez looks at the inmate in their arms. He said he was placed there without record. Someone bypassed the system. The commander nods slowly. That means someone on the inside helped. Torres pauses. You mean a guard? No, the commander says. Someone higher. They push forward until they reach a thick steel door labeled Central Control, Authorized Staff Only. A keypad glows faintly beside it, one of the few systems that survived the power failure. The commander enters his access code. The door clicks. Slowly slides open. Inside, dozens of monitors line the walls, showing each block of CECOT. Most screens are dark. Some flicker. A few show blurry footage of collapsed inmates. Only one monitor is clear. Block 1, high-security gang housing. The screen shows inmates pacing in a panic, banging on doors, coughing violently as guards shout for them to step back. Another screen shows the medical wing overflowing. Another shows the cafeteria, empty but with trays scattered across the floor. And then, the biggest central screen switches automatically. The words appear. Source identified. Infirmary storage room. Torres frowns. What? Why would the source be in the storage room? The commander leans closer. This system doesn't guess. It detects chemical signatures. Whatever started this came through there. They move toward the back of the control center, where a narrow hallway leads to the emergency medical supply rooms. But before they can leave, a noise stops them. A soft sound, barely audible at first. A slow, dragging shuffle. Coming from the ventilation shaft above them. Ramirez raises his flashlight. Commander, look. Something is inside the vent. Something moving. The metal grate vibrates softly as dust falls from the edges. Whatever is in there is crawling slowly, scraping against the metal. The commander grabs his radio, still static. Torres grips his baton tightly. The vent shakes harder. Then a hand appears. A pale hand, trembling, fingers twitching. Not trying to escape. Not trying to attack. Just hanging loosely, like the person attached to it is barely conscious. The hand slips, then disappears back into the darkness of the vent. The commander makes his decision instantly. We're checking the storage room. Now. They rush out of the control center and down the hall, the alarms echoing behind them. As they turn the corner, they see something painted on the floor. Not with ink. Not with spray paint. With something darker. What? Fresh. Torres shines his light. What is that? A thin trail runs down the hallway, drops and smears leading straight to the medical storage door. The commander steps closer. It's blood. Ramirez swallows hard. So one of the sick inmates made it this far? The commander shakes his head. No. This trail is too long. Someone dragged something. They follow the trail slowly. Every step feels heavier than the last. They reach the storage room door. It's slightly open. Hanging crooked on its hinges, like someone forced it. The commander signals the others to stand ready. Torres grips his baton. Ramirez steadies the inmate they're carrying. The door creaks as the commander pushes it open. Inside, the medical shelves are overturned. Boxes spilled everywhere. Torn gloves. Broken syringes. Shattered glass containers. Cold packs melted on the floor. And at the center of the room, a large metal crate sits open, like it was pried apart from the inside. The commander steps closer. There's a label on the crate. A label printed in red. A label none of them have ever seen inside the prison before. Restricted biological material, do not unseal. Torres stares in disbelief. What is that doing in a prison? The commander's face hardens. This wasn't supposed to be here. Someone brought this crate in secretly. Ramirez looks at the inmate they carried, now barely conscious. Sir, if this thing opened? He looks around the room, at the spilled boxes, the shattered containers, the blood trail. This could be what spread through the prison. The commander turns slowly, because something else in the room catches his eye. Footprints. Bare footprints. Leading away from the open crate. And not just one set. Dozens. Torres whispers, "Commander!" The trail of footprints leads out through a back door. A door they didn't even know existed. A door that leads deeper into the unseen part of the mega prison. A part not shown on any public map. A part only a few people in the entire country know about. The commander's voice drops to a whisper. "I think we're not alone in this prison." Before they can react, a faint voice echoes from the hidden hallway. "Commander!" Ramirez tightens his grip. "Who's there?" Feet shuffle in the darkness. Then a figure appears, leaning against the wall, barely standing. It's not an inmate. It's not a guard. It's someone wearing a hazmat suit, torn in several places, mask cracked. The figure raises a trembling hand and whispers, "You need to get out. All of you." The commander steps closer. "Who are you?" The figure coughs hard, drops to one knee, and forces out a final sentence. "We tried to contain it, but it's already too late." The man in the hazmat suit. The man in the hazmat suit collapses onto the floor, gasping for air. His mask is cracked, one glove is torn, and the suit is covered in dark stains. Torres immediately steps back. "Commander, he's infected." The commander raises his hand. No sudden moves. "We need answers." Ramirez lowers the unconscious inmate they carried and kneels beside the hazmat man. "Sir, stay with us. Tell us what happened." The figure coughs hard, each breath sounding like it tears through his chest. He lifts his head just enough for his voice to escape. "We didn't know it was active." The commander steps closer. "What was active?" The man forces himself to speak. "The material, the crate, it wasn't supposed to be opened. We brought it for disposal. For destruction. But something went wrong." Torres' eyes widen. "You brought that thing into a prison?" The hazmat man winces. "We didn't have a choice. Orders came from above, way above." Ramirez frowns. "Above the prison director?" The man nods weakly. "Higher than that. Someone wanted it off government property. Off record." The commander's voice lowers. "And instead they created the biggest outbreak this prison has ever seen." The hazmat man grabs the commander's sleeve with a trembling hand. No, you don't understand." He coughs violently. "This is not a virus. It's something else." Torres backs away, fear rising. "Something else? What does that mean?" The man finally manages to look up. His eyes are red and exhausted. "It wasn't designed to spread. Not like this. It only activates when." He stops. His body spasms. His head drops forward. The commander grabs him. "When what happens?" "Answer." The hazmat man lifts one shaking finger and points to his cracked mask. "When it touches oxygen." Torres' voice cracks. "Oxygen? You mean the air?" The commander's stomach drops. "It activated the moment that crate was opened." The hazmat man nods slowly. "And whoever opened it, unleashed it on everyone." He collapses completely. His breathing fades. Then stops. Silence fills the room. Ramirez checks his pulse. Nothing. Torres whispers, "Commander, we're dealing with something airborne. Something we're breathing right now." The commander clenches his jaw. That's why the system triggered a biosecurity alert. It detected a foreign compound. Torres looks around at the overturned shelves, the footprints, the blood stains. So whoever opened that crate started the entire chain reaction. Ramirez swallows hard. And they're still inside the prison. The commander stands slowly, his voice steady but cold. Whoever did this had access. Security clearance. Knowledge of these hidden rooms. Torres nods. "A guard?" "No," the commander says firmly. "A guard can't override storage logs. A guard can't bring in banned material. A guard can't hide their presence on the cameras. Ramirez looks toward the dark hallway behind the storage room. Then who? Before the commander can answer, a loud metallic bang shakes the entire mega-prison. Then another. Then a third. The walls tremble. Dust falls from the ceiling. The lights flicker violently before going dark again, then flashing back to red. A new alert appears on the nearest monitor. Sector 5 breach detected. Internal doors overridden. Torres stares at the screen. Sector 5, that's where we keep. I know, the commander says. It's the gang leadership block. Another bang echoes. This one closer. Much closer. The commander looks at Ramirez. Take the inmate. Keep him alive. He turns to Torres. You're with me. We're going to Sector 5 now. Torres hesitates. Sir, what if the doors were opened on purpose? The commander's expression turns grim. Then we're dealing with someone who wants chaos on the inside. They step into the hallway, following the trail of footprints and flickering lights. As they move deeper, the air feels thicker, heavier, almost humming with tension. Then, from the far end of the corridor, they hear it. Footsteps. Slow. Unsteady. Echoing through the dark. The commander raises his flashlight. Who's there? The footsteps stop. Silence. Then a voice whispers from the shadows. Commander Ruiz. Torres freezes. That voice. I know that voice. A shape moves into the red emergency light. First the silhouette. Then the outline of a uniform. Then the face. Commander Ruiz's eyes widen. Because standing in front of them, pale, sweating, barely standing, is Lieutenant Serrano, one of the highest-ranking officers in the prison. A man who had full access. A man who didn't show up for his shift today. A man who once oversaw inmate transfers, including isolation assignments. Torres whispers. Serrano has clearance to every door in this prison. Serrano steps forward, shaking violently, his eyes sunken. He tries to speak, his voice broken. You tried to stop it? The commander steps closer. Stop what, Serrano? Serrano leans against the wall, struggling to breathe. Then he looks directly into the commander's eyes and whispers, I wasn't the one who opened the crate. He coughs, blood hitting the floor. I was the one who brought it in. Torres gasps. You did this? Serrano shakes his head desperately. You don't understand. I did what I was ordered to do by someone higher than all of us. The commander grabs him. Who gave you the order? Serrano's mouth trembles. His voice breaks. He forces out one last sentence. It wasn't from inside the prison. He coughs again. It came from the government. The commander staggers back. Torres covers his mouth in shock. And just as Serrano opens his mouth to continue, his eyes roll back. He collapses. Unmoving. A loud clatter echoes behind them. Something big. Something metal. Something unlocking. Torres turns slowly. Commander! The door to Sector 5, the gang leadership block, is opening. By itself. Sector 5 opens. The steel door to Sector 5 grinds open slowly, the heavy machinery whining in the darkness. Red emergency lights wash over the hallway, flashing across the commander's face. Torres steps backward, gripping his baton with shaking hands. Commander! That door shouldn't open unless someone overrides it manually. The commander stares at the widening gap. I know. The cold air rolling out from Sector 5 feels different, thicker, like it's carrying something inside it. A low humming echo floats through the hallway, not mechanical, almost human. As the door fully opens, the lights in the hallway flicker, then stabilize just enough to illuminate what waits inside. Ramirez approaches cautiously, still holding the barely conscious inmate from the isolation block. What's inside? He whispers. The commander signals him to stay back. Torres, with me. Slow. They step over Lieutenant Serrano's collapsed body and approach the Sector 5 entrance. Inside the block, the cells are open. All of them. Cell doors that should be sealed shut during lockdown now stand wide, swinging lightly as if moved by a draft. The corridor beyond looks like a ghost tunnel, dim red lights, fallen trays, a few overturned stools. But no voices. No footsteps. No shouting. Nothing. Torres whispers, "Where are all the inmates?" Sector 5 houses the highest-ranking members of MS-13 and Barrio 18. These are men who controlled entire districts. If even a handful of them were loose, the entire prison could explode in violence. But instead, silence. The commander steps inside, shining his flashlight down the empty hallway. "Stay close," he mutters. As they move deeper, the beam reveals chilling details. Blankets on the floor, abandoned. Plates untouched. Water spilled. Inmates' shoes lying randomly. A rosary hanging from a bed frame. A tattooed armband left behind, torn. Ramirez whispers from behind, "Commander, it looks like they left in a hurry." Torres nods, voice trembling. "No. They ran." But ran where? The commander tightens his grip on his flashlight. Something scared them. Something worse than us. Worse than lockdown. Worse than the outbreak. Something made the most violent men here run. As they move farther down the block, the hallway takes a turn into a wider common area, Sector 5's leader courtyard. Normally, guards would never enter without full gear. Now it stands empty. The only sound is the faint buzzing of a broken ceiling light. Torres' voice cracks. "This doesn't make sense. Why would they open their own cells and run? They never do that without a plan." The commander examines the exit door at the end of the courtyard. Its locking mechanism is torn open. Not with tools. With force. Deep scratches line the steel, like someone yanked on the door until the metal bent. Ramirez steps inside and freezes. "Commander, look." He points to the wall. Smeared across the white paint, written in something dark, is a message. "El infierno y." Torres translates under his breath. "Hell opened." The commander goes still. This wasn't a gang message. This was a warning. Before he can react, the sound of footsteps echoes faintly from the darkness beyond the broken exit door. Slow, uneven, dragging. Torres grips his baton tighter. Someone's coming. The footsteps get closer. Not running. Not sneaking. Just dragging feet, like someone exhausted or in pain. The commander raises his flashlight toward the broken door. "Show yourself." The footsteps stop. Silence. The three guards stand frozen. Then from the shadows, a figure steps into the red emergency light. First the silhouette. Then the outline of bare shoulders. Then the tattoos, large, black, covering the chest, neck, and arms in familiar MS-13 patterns. It's an inmate, one of the high-ranking leaders from Sector 5. He should be aggressive. He should be violent. He should be ready to fight. Instead, he looks terrified. His eyes are wide. His breathing is shallow. His body shakes. He raises one trembling hand. Torres whispers, "Sir, what happened in there?" The inmate tries to speak, but no words come out. He steps closer, stumbles, catches himself on the wall. The commander steps forward. "Hey, you can talk. Tell us what happened. Where is everyone else?" The inmate finally opens his mouth. His voice breaks, barely audible. "They're hiding." Torres frowns. "Hiding? From what?" The inmate shakes his head desperately. "You don't understand. You need to leave, all of you." The commander grabs him gently. "Leave from what?" The inmate's eyes fill with tears. "Everyone in Sector 5 heard it, saw it." "Saw what?" The inmate gasps for air, clutching his chest. Then he forces out 6 words that chill everyone instantly. "Something came through the vents." Torres steps back. "The vents? Like the one we saw moving earlier?" The inmate nods slowly. "It moved fast. It took them, one by one." Ramirez's voice shakes. "Took who?" The inmate's lips tremble. "Everyone." The commander's eyes widen. "Everyone in Sector 5 is gone?" The inmate nods. Then suddenly his whole body tenses. He convulses. Falls to his knees. The commander kneels beside him. But the inmate grabs Ruiz's wrist with a strength that doesn't match his weak body. His eyes go wide. He stares behind the commander and whispers, "It's here." The commander spins around. Torres swings his flashlight toward the darkness behind them. A faint sound echoes from the vent above. A low, wet, dragging sound. A second sound. A thump. Something moving inside the vent. Something heavy. Something fast. The lights flicker. The vent above them trembles. Dust falls. Metal bends. Ramirez steps back, voice cracking. "Commander, something's in the vents again." The commander lifts his flashlight, just as the vent cover above them begins to slowly push open. What's in the vents? The vent above them shakes again, harder this time. The screws rattle. Dust falls like ash onto the floor. The metal cover vibrates as something on the other side pushes against it, slow at first, then with more force. Torres raises his baton, voice cracking. "Commander, that thing is about to drop." The commander grabs his flashlight tighter, aiming it at the vent. The red emergency lights flicker again, bathing the hallway in a pulse of dim crimson. Ramirez steps back with the sick inmate, pressing himself against the wall. The vent cover bends outward. Just a little. Then more. A long, slow metallic screech fills the hallway. The commander takes a deep breath. "Stay calm. Whatever it is, we face it together." But even he can't hide the tremble in his voice. Something pushes harder. The entire vent bulges outward. Torres flinches. Ramirez nearly drops the inmate. Another hit. The vent cover cracks open a few inches. A hand slips through. A pale hand. Human, yes, but shaking violently, coated in sweat and dust. Fingers trembling, nails cracked, skin pale and bruised. Torres blurts out, "Is that a prisoner?" The commander steps closer, cautious but focused. "Identify yourself." No answer. Another hand appears, gripping the vent frame. Then a shoulder, a head, a face. An inmate pulls himself halfway out of the vent, gasping, eyes wide with terror. His tattooed chest heaves as he coughs violently. It's another Sector 5 leader. The commander recognizes him immediately, El Tiburon, a man known for brutal leadership on the streets. But he doesn't look brutal now. He looks destroyed. He hangs halfway out of the vent, shaking uncontrollably, trying to speak but too weak to stay upright. Torres steps toward him. "Help him down." But before he can reach him, El Tiburon jerks back violently, as if something grabbed him from behind. His scream echoes through the entire hallway. "No, no, let go." He claws at the metal grate, fingertips scraping. His tattoos stretch across his arm as something drags him backward into the darkness of the vent. "Grab him," the commander shouts. Torres leaps forward and grabs the inmate's arm. Ramirez drops the weaker inmate and grabs Tiburon's wrist. Both guards pull with all their strength. "Pull! Pull!" Torres yells, veins bulging in his neck. But Tiburon's entire body moves backward anyway. Something in the vent is dragging him with a strength no sick inmate should have. Tiburon's face stretches with fear. Tears fall down his cheeks. It's in here with you." His voice is drowned out by a low rumbling sound echoing through the air shaft. A heavy, vibrating growl, not human, not mechanical, not familiar. Torres screams. Something's behind him. Tiburon's grip slips. First one hand, then the other. The commander lunges forward, but too late. El Tiburon is ripped backward into the vent with terrifying speed. His scream cuts off instantly. Silence. Torres falls backward, breathing hard. What was that? What took him? Ramirez backs away from the vent, trembling. That wasn't a person. That wasn't a prisoner. That wasn't normal. The commander stares upward, breathing heavily, trying to process what just happened. But he doesn't get long to think. Because suddenly, thump, 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 something moves through the vent overhead, fast, heavy, crawling deeper into the prison. Torres grabs the commander's shoulder. It's moving toward the next block. Ramirez looks down the hallway. "Sir, that's where the guards' sleeping quarters are." The commander's stomach twists. This thing, whatever it is, moves into the residential wing, dozens of unprepared staff will be exposed. He turns sharply. Move. We cut it off before it reaches the quarters. They sprint down the hallway as the pounding in the vents travels above them, matching their pace, like the thing is racing them through the metal tunnels. The noise grows louder, faster, closer. It stops. Right above them. All three guards freeze. Torres whispers, "Commander, it's right above us." The commander slowly raises his flashlight and shines it at the ceiling. The vent above them bulges downward, slow, heavy, like something inside is leaning its full weight against it. A deep, slow exhale echoes from within the vent. Human? Animal? Impossible to tell. The metal bends lower. A screw shoots across the hallway. Ramirez screams, grabbing the commander's arm. Run! But before any of them can move, the vent bursts open. Metal shatters. Dust explodes into the air. A massive shape drops from the ceiling, landing right in front of them. Torres stumbles backward. Ramirez falls. The commander raises his flashlight and sees it for the first time. Not clearly, just enough to understand. Human body, twisted posture, limbs shaking, skin pale, eyes unfocused, breathing fast and uneven. It's an inmate, but not like before. Something is wrong, deeply wrong. He rises slowly, joints cracking, head twitching from side to side like he's trying to find balance. His voice is barely a whisper. "Help me." Torres shakes violently. "Commander, that's not normal sickness. This is. The inmate's head snaps toward them suddenly. Too fast. His body jerks forward. He charges. The truth behind the mega-prison. Inside the world's biggest mega-prison, chaos unfolded in ways nobody outside those walls would ever imagine. A mysterious crate. An airborne threat. Entire blocks of gang leaders vanishing. Inmates collapsing one by one. Guards fighting with no backup, no answers, and no escape. But in the middle of the fear, something became clear. This wasn't just a prison problem. This wasn't just about gangs or punishment. This was something bigger, something that reached far beyond CECOT's concrete walls. Inside those corridors, you saw it. A hazmat worker begging for help. A lieutenant collapsing under the weight of secrets. High-ranking gang members running from something they couldn't explain. An entire sector emptied without a sound. And a threat crawling through vents, spreading through the air, touching everyone inside, prisoner or guard. CECOT was built to control 40,000 men. But it wasn't prepared for this. And in the end, it wasn't the gangs who proved most dangerous. It wasn't the violence. It wasn't the riots everyone expected. It was something silent, invisible, unplanned, uncontrolled. Something that forced the toughest men, MS-13, Barrio 18, leaders who once ruled cities, to hide like children in the dark. Something that forced guards, trained for war, to run for their lives. Something that exposed a truth the government never wanted anyone to see. When the system tries to bury secrets, those secrets don't die. They spread, they grow, and eventually they fight back. Because inside CECOT, power didn't belong to the inmates. It didn't belong to the guards. It didn't even belong to the government that built the mega-prison. It belonged to fear. Fear controlled every block, every hallway, every breath. And as the alarms echoed across the complex and the lights flickered for the last time, one reality settled over everyone inside. No matter how strong the walls are, no matter how many guards you station, no matter how much control you think you have, there are some forces you cannot contain. Not with lockdown. Not with force. Not with silence. Inside CECOT, 40,000 men faced something they didn't understand. Something created far above their heads. Ordered by people who would never step inside those walls. And the truth? They were all left alone to survive it. This is the story they tried to hide. This is the mega-prison they don't want the world to see. And this is only the beginning. Because when you bury secrets in concrete, eventually the concrete cracks.